Okay, I'm watching this movie, and I kind of fell in love with this character.
Oh, that's nice.
Where did you find her, and what was it like working with Chris, not only as a co-star, but as a
A director.
Yeah.
It was really lovely working with Chris, and he, let me find her, which is always a privilege as an actor to kind of be able to take your own direction. So we spoke about her being English and we spoke about her being American, and we decided that she was American because if she was English, there were too many complications in like imagining them getting together. You couldn't, because she'd always have to go home, even though she does have to go back to the East Coast or further upstate. But I guess I just worked on her with him and we discussed it a lot, and she's quite vulnerable, and I quite liked playing that.
There's something about her that even though she's mistrusting, finding that chemistry seems like it would be really difficult if it hadn't been the right actor.
Yeah, I feel like chemistry is potluck, and Chris and I had a Skype meeting. He wanted me to do the movie. I was in London, and we Skyped, and I liked what he had to say. He was very clear about what he wanted to make. He wanted to tell a story about love, and I liked his idea of what love was for this film and this character. And so we met, and I guess had an easy relationship. I'm into star signs, and he's a Gemini, and I'm an Aquarius, so we have a similar like mental space we occupy. So we got on well. There was no arguments, there was no disagreements, and it was just an easy experience. Apart from the cold, it was a good experience.
Where did you film? It was
in
in New York,
in
right?
The winter.
Yeah.
It was God. It was very cold, and it was at night.
Have you ever been in an experience like that where you're lost and stranded like that? Could you draw from real experiences?
This stuff happens all the time. You're often in need as a human. I just found myself in a gas station the other day, and I couldn't get my car to allow the gas pump in because it had blocked it. And some guy helped me, and I was like, thanks so much for helping. And there's often a time in life when you need help, and so, yeah, of course, and you hope that you'll meet someone who's nice.
Yeah, and there's also that whole idea that we become distrusting as a society. If someone wants to do something nice for us, like, well, why? Which was refreshing to see in this movie. And you guys do kind of cover that, but it's a nice relationship.
It's a Ron Bass script, and it was written a few years ago. I would say maybe 10 or more. And there's an innocence to the story that we have moved on from with the internet, and we've become so cynical, and there's an innocence to it that I liked, a sort of almost values that are outdated now are upheld in it, and I liked that.
He plays guitar, drums. Jimmy O from JOBLO.com.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
That's great, man.
I didn't know you could play. How much of that is you here in this?
Well, this was tough, man. I wanted to play desperately, but you find out that trumpet's a tough instrument.
Yeah.
It's tough, and obviously this guy's supposed to be very skilled. So we tried. I took some lessons, and you kind of realize after 3 or 4 weeks, I'm never going to get to a point of sounding that good enough that I would be recruited by the top jazz musicians in the country. So we ended up just we hired a musician to come in and play all the melodies, and we filmed his fingering so that I could go and watch it and memorize it. So all my fingering is accurate in the film.
Good.
It's just not my sound coming out.
Why a trumpet? Why not a guitar? What was it about that instrument for this story?
Initially, it was actually a saxophone in the original script, and something about a saxophone just didn't feel as... A guitar felt a little, not cliche, but just uninteresting.
Yeah.
I think a guitar is, everybody plays a guitar. I think there's almost something tragic about a guy who loves a type of music that isn't universally praised. It's almost, jazz is this specific art that you really have to have a unique passion for. Everybody plays guitar. Not everyone commits themselves to the trumpet. And I think there's a romance in that.
Now, I gotta say, I was at D23. I was in the audience when you came out on stage.
Sure.
That you were treated like, you were like a god. This world, the whole Marvel world has opened you up to this huge
Sure.
audience. What
Yeah.
led you to doing something so small and for your first time
Sure.
directing?
Well, it's. I mean, there's two schools of thought. One, I would never be so bold as to try and tackle something bigger than I could manage. My first time directing, so I just
Yeah.
kind of wanted to get my feet wet. And the inverse of that is no movie that big would ever court me as a director, given the fact that I'm so wildly inexperienced. So this was a very balanced marriage for my first time out. And you know, who knows in the future? But for now, I just kind of wanted to learn. You know, not to discredit this film in any way, but this really was, you know, essentially film school for me. You know,
Yeah.
just trying to experience and pay attention.
Was it nice kind of being able to focus on these two characters in this small story as opposed to being a part of something so big?
Very much so. You know, you actually get, it felt like a play. You know, you really get to try and focus on story, and it's not 6, 7 characters, it's 2. So at the end of the day, you really get to kind of hone in on your focus and your directorial approach, and it felt intimate and personal.